Gets it to LeBron for three for the win. Yes! LeBron James at the buzzer!
Gordon cuts through. They go to Barrett. He'll turn and shoot for the win.
Bingo!
All right. Welcome to another episode of the NBA Max podcast. I'm Chris Driscoll. Joining me are Ori B from Hoop Social and Jalen Carter. How we doing, gentlemen?
Another day, great hoops. Another day of missing parlays. What are you going to do?
Loving March Madness, baby. All about that basketball.
Absolutely. Like I know it's NBA Max, but NBA Max, but NBA show. But obviously, we're looking forward to talking about some college hoops today. We did so on my show last week as well. Fortunately, Fluent couldn't be joining us today. But that's okay. So Jalen, you weren't on the last time the Fluent wasn't here. But what I do at the beginning of every one of my shows is I list a player who wore a jersey number for that episode number. So this, I believe, is episode number 7. So I think it would be too much of a layup for Ori if I asked him for a number 7. So Jalen, do you have a number 7 that comes in mind? It's a tough number, but
number 7. When I think of number 7, I think of Manchester United's like David Beckham and
okay,
I think of number 7.
It's not a bad pick.
Yeah.
Basketball,
I couldn't tell you right now. Nope.
Yeah, it's all right.
Let me get my charger real quick. 1 second.
Yeah, sure. So no worries. So so obviously, Ori, we know of one of them, but I will give another one of them. So like the obvious one I think most fans will think of is actually Carmelo Anthony. When he played for the Knicks. But any other ones come to mind, Ori?
My guy Kenny Anderson.
Oh, okay, Kenny Anderson.
Yes,
all right, that's not who I was thinking of, obviously. Because I think of Jaylen Brown, of course. I think of Jaylen Brown.
Sure. I had to go with the pull though.
Oh yeah, of course.
One of my guys, man.
I gave you Kevin Garnett 2 weeks ago. So it can't be too easy 2 weeks in a row. But others to think about are NBA champion Kyle Lowry and also Kevin Durant for the Brooklyn Nets. Those are the number 7s that I think of at the very least. There's a couple others that can come to mind as well. Like one of them, Tiny Archibald, but like that's not really one that I feel like most people would be able to pull.
Right. I think the big ones.
Yeah, for sure.
How many numbers in the NBA are really iconic though?
Iconic outside of it's with 23.
It's 23. And like I don't know, to me, like 0 is kind of just because it's such a unique number, and Agent 0 like was a thing. Like it's known. If you say 0, everyone says Gilbert Arenas.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he is known for that number, even though he's not like iconic.
If I say 0, I'm thinking Jason Tatum. I don't know what you're thinking.
I mean, sure.
We were talking about this me and my friends were talking about it, about like the best number 0 of all time. Actually, it was actually on Twitter where someone said that Dame was the best 0 of all time. I think that both Tatum and Westbrook are better of all time than.
Sure,
than,
yeah.
So
I mean, I think did Gilbert start that trend?
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean, that's what it is. And like Agent 0 is kind of a cool name when you have 0.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, it's like it's that way. But other than that, like what I don't even know. I mean,
I don't. As far as for guys that are known for their numbers, so obviously 23. If you want to say 6 for Bill Russell, maybe because now it's retired by the entire league.
I didn't even know Bill Russell's number until you just said. Like, I wouldn't come to my head.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So he's one of them. The only one, like maybe 32 for Magic. 32. Yeah. So that was
but when I think of those players, I don't think of numbers. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah. So
23.
I actually have a book. It's right here. Actually, it's actually So it's by Mike Greenberg of ESPN. So basically, it's just like a book for the entire going through a number for each one, and sometimes it's a stat, sometimes it's a player's number. So most of them are players, and got to be honest, most of them aren't basketball players. It's a lot of baseball players. So like number 2, Derek Jeter, number 3, a couple other ones that come up. But like obviously, I know the Babe Ruth is number 3, Lou Gehrig number 4. The only basketball there were a few basketball ones, like obviously MJ's 23, and so like Isaiah Thomas was number 11, I think. So like basketball players aren't really known for their numbers. That might be just because they're so exposed to the media that like maybe they're not known for their numbers. But like maybe it has to do with the fact that they're jumping teams a lot. I don't know.
And honestly, it seems like 23 is probably on a tier of its own.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
kind of everything else is below that. I mean,
for sure.
23 really holds quite the luster compared to every other number. I mean, like you said, I mean, he didn't recognize Bill Russell right away. That's not uncommon. So
No,
23,
it's not. Yeah.
though, you're either LeBron or MJ. Like, it's iconic to generation. So
for sure.
I mean, I guess Kobe's 8 and 24. I feel like you have to be a basketball fan for that, though. You know what I mean? Like 23 goes beyond basketball. Like I see people saying, "Oh, turning my Jordan year," who've never seen basketball.
Yeah, right? True. Yeah, exactly.
99 for Gretzky, I think is big in hockey.
That's true.
It's kind of iconic number for that.
Yeah, and then Aaron Judge is kind of taking that over too. The number 99.
And instead of soccer, 7, like basically Manchester United just gives the 7 to like a great player. Beckham, Ronaldo, some of their greats have always worn 7, so you just kind of pass that number down. They never retire; it just gets passed on to a young phenom, and if he works out,
makes sense. We never really established the order of what we're going to go through in the pre-meeting. But yeah, I figured since it's fresh in our mind now, do you want to hop just right into March Madness and then segue into the NBA right after that?
Sure, might as well.
Yeah, let's do that. So we'll start off. We'll start off the show at a high note. We'll start off because Jalen's in a good mood with his team. I'm not in the best mood with my team. So Jalen, why don't you get started talking about your Duke Blue Devils?
Yeah, I mean, look, after Coach K's retirement, I think people kind of expected a bit of a lull, but I think Shire's done a great job just kind of, keeping Duke up there. I mean, obviously they're not, what they were during peak Coach K times, but right now they look like the best team in the country. They have the best player in the country without a doubt, blowing out teams, and they're able to win a championship and maybe start a new era of dominance of being college's elite program. I think it'd be, great to see. I think UConn put up one hell of a fight. Shout out them, back to back going for that three-peat. One shot here or there could have changed the game for them. They could have won it. So, they fought. Nice to see. It's been a good March Madness. No huge upsets. That we're used to. No big Cinderella kind of run right now. It's not that type of year, but a lot of the good teams are doing what they're supposed to do. A lot of the best teams in the country are just, playing well, hitting shots. So, you're not going to have a 16, 15, 14 seed win all the time, right? So, always, to me, still the best tournament in sports.
Did you know that a player on UConn has never, ever fouled? Actually, they've always been, according to their coach, Dan Hurley, they've never actually committed a foul. It's always been the refs out to get them. So just quite unfortunate to see Dan Hurley. Actually, not quite unfortunate at all.
That was quite the tirade, huh?
Yeah.
He's a very emotional coach. I think maybe he just said that in the heat of the moment. He's very passionate what he does. I could definitely see him waking up tomorrow and be like, yeah, probably.
The second most famous Hurley, right? As Duke fans.
I mean, I have to agree with that. Shout out his brother, man. Iconic player. Should have said about it. I mean, was iconic.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of him. That's okay. You're mentioning that. Most teams are most of the better teams are taking care of business. Unfortunately, it seems like I talked about them last week, and Fluent talked about Pitino's son last week, who I believe is still coaching in the NCAA as well. If he's talking about the same son, he didn't clarify who it was, but St. John's. I don't know if you guys were watching the game. They fell yesterday to Nebraska. That was a 2-10 matchup. If I'm being honest, though, I'll be honest. I wasn't watching Nebraska all year long, but that being said, they looked much better than a 10 seed. They were deep. Like the fact that both their big men were in foul trouble for pretty much the entire game, but they were still able to pull away with the win. Was just super impressive on their end. I do think, and you guys probably didn't watch as much St. John's as I did this year, but I think just the fact that their main defender Kadari Richmond only played 16 minutes all game long because he was in foul trouble, and the fourth and fifth fouls were very controversial. I know I just made fun of Dan Hurley for complaining to the refs, and I'm not gonna. So I'm not going to be the guy that says they lost because of the refs, but I do think it was a big reason as to why. Because there were two plays in the end there, or not in the end, because it was his fourth and fifth foul where they were very contradictory foul calls, which I don't think, which I would have rather they not given that call in a big game. But I don't know. Did you guys watch the game at all or no?
I didn't check that one out, to be honest.
No.
Currently, it's funny that you mentioned the 10 seeds, though. Those 2-10 matchups, I'm actually watching Michigan State versus New Mexico in a tie game right now in the second half. And those 10 seeds are sneaky. You know, as somebody that's always been picking the brackets like every year, like clockwork, you can always count on a 10 seed. It seems like to really show out, because sometimes those, for whatever reason, the 10 seed is maybe just bad luck, or maybe it was a really good team that just kind of had a couple balls bounce the opposite direction. Like, those guys can be really tricky. That 8, 9, 10 is right in that spot, where that sweet spot for really tough outs.
Yeah, it's because that 10 seed could easily have been, I think, like a 5 or even 4 seed if they had like just another small winning streak during the season, or if a guy didn't get hurt, right? Because the margins are pretty small. Like, the 1 seeds are usually just the cream of the crop. There's distance. 2 seeds are pretty solid. Even like 3 and 4 seeds, after that, it gets a little, like, after the top kind of 8 to 10 teams in the country, everybody gets really, really close to each other. One good shooting night by the star player, you can beat the other team. It becomes a lot closer for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't have my bracket out in front of me, but it looks like I had both St. John's and Gonzaga making the Final Four. But yeah, like I try to pick at least like one low team to make it in. Like, I'm a big fan of Mark Few, so I was hoping that Gonzaga was going to be able to beat Houston yesterday. That didn't happen though. So as of now in my work brackets, which, by the way, I definitely know the most amount of basketball out of I'm sure that doesn't come as a shock to you, like in a school. However, I am tied for 18th place out of I'm tied for 18th and 19th place out of 19 people for who has the worst bracket right now. So that's something that we love seeing for sure. And also in my as my younger brother Matt just commented, Driscoll House was in Chamos on Saturday, unfortunately. Also in our family brackets, so there's, by the way, we didn't do this for money at all. So so it's not like we had anything to lose by doing bias picks. So there's 6 of us. So as I mentioned, my father went to St. John's. So there's 6 of us in the family. All 5 of the 6 of us voted for. I'll pick St. John's except for my mom. She ended up picking Tennessee. So So she just loves being competitive. She was very strategic with her pick and going up against the popular pick there. So, but yeah, but like, so as of now, I don't know who I pick. So like, as of now, I don't Ori, who do you think would be your finals pick as of right now? Or how about this? Actually, so I shared my 2 of my final 4 picks are done. How's your bracket doing?
Awful, but I had this Tennessee Kentucky matchup, which I'm super excited for. I'm really looking for this year. I mean, I'm a Duke guy. I've been a Duke guy since probably 93 and 92. So it's been a long time. I've seen a lot.
Look a lot younger than that. I don't think you'd be watching.
I do every single year. I do like a bracket, and then I do my Duke bracket. Right. That's just how it works. And this year they were both one and the same. Let's just say that much, right? Because Duke has the best player in the field. We just saw Tyrese Proctor go off. He's been insane in March Madness, like just shooting the ball.
Got hot at the right time.
This team just doesn't have holes. And then I feel like everybody else is a tier away right now, just because when this team is on, they're just the level of basketball they're capable of.
Did they set a record for biggest margin of victory first 2 games? I feel like it has to be close. Like that
I'm sure it's pretty close.
At least, yeah.
But it's just Flag fits so many components. Like he's such a jack of all trades. Like he does so many things elite. When you watch him play, he's just so impressive. And I'm really looking forward to him making a long run and kind of adding to that Duke legacy,
And Baylor is a good team. You're not supposed to blow out Baylor by this much. Baylor was a team that people were high on. The 9th seed, they could have been higher. So I mean, to beat a team like Baylor by 23, that's big.
Yeah. So I'd say St. John's beating Duke in the finals. So I would say I would definitely pick Duke to be my new team to beat for sure. On the other side of the brackets, I don't know who exactly I would pick. I guess it would be one of the other 1 seeds in Auburn or Florida. I would probably lean Florida though. I like watching them play a lot there. Super committed on both ends of the floor. Hit the boards pretty great. So Yeah, like I'd probably like Auburn super athletic and everything, but like I didn't watch either of these teams that much, but like just like the couple times that I've watched Florida, it's been pretty great.
And that'd be great for the ratings too, a Duke Florida matchup. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, that'd be big. Yeah, and like I think Duke blows out a lot of these other teams.
Oh, for sure.
Duke, like some people picking Michigan, I think Duke blows the roof out of Michigan if they somehow advance. I mean, Ole Miss looks like they're gonna come through. They somehow sneak into a Final Four and the final, they're getting run off the floor. So I mean, it does scream like a Florida Duke final.
One of those years you probably didn't think there was going to be a juggernaut, but I think secretly this might be a little juggernaut.
Yeah. One more thing before we move on from the from college hoops. So we had this discussion on my podcast the other night. I also made a TikTok on it. Because it comes up every year, the question, and like it came up, it like exploded this year because Alex Caruso was talking about it on Pardon My Take. It's the question about who is the worst player in the NBA that could lead a 16 seed to a national championship. So, no, sorry. The original question was what's the number of players that could do it, and then my follow up question was who's the worst player in the league that could do it. So, my thought process was okay. So Norfolk State is a 16 seed. They're a team who is pretty good on offense, but not good on defense at all. So my thought process was, okay, let's add on Rudy Gobert. He's 7'2". College basketball, they have to become less reliant on the three ball, so they're going to be more. They're going to drive to the hoop more. But Rudy Gobert prevents all that, and he's 7'2". He's like a total size strat. So I thought Rudy Gobert. Then I checked. Florida was up on from Norfolk State 45-19 with 6 minutes left to go in the first half. I don't think that Rudy Gobert could overcome that. Like I'm someone who defends Rudy Gobert all the time, and I'm someone who says, "Oh, NBA is so much better than college." I don't think he could do that. I said like, okay, it's at least 50. I think it might be smaller than 50. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that are.
I don't mean to sound, contrarian, I guess, but in my mind, I feel like it's a pretty short list of guys that actually could do that, because I feel like it's got to be like the all around type of guy, the guy that might be like a floor raiser that makes a team like that. I'm picturing like a guy like Jokic. I feel like obviously makes a team extraordinarily better. A guy like Giannis, a guy like SGA. Obviously, these guys fit that mold. Tatum, I think fits that mold.
Even LeBron, KD.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But then I start to go down the list, and it's like, but then again, like how many guys outside of that superstar tier could really do it? Because like, what about somebody like Scotty Barnes?
Look, shout out Scotty Barnes. I know I live in Toronto, so Toronto guy. Like Cooper Flagg might be better than Scotty Barnes already. And no disrespect, Scotty Barnes. Yeah, that's just. But you put Scotty Barnes on like Norfolk State, and I think that's tough. And I think Scotty Barnes is a really good NBA player. Yeah, I mean, look, outside of like all NBA caliber guys, I think you're reaching a little bit. Yeah, I don't. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at overall is maybe it's only kind of the top tier guys that could do it, because it is kind of a tremendous feat. Even an all-star like Tyler Hero really impact the game much.
I don't think Hero could do
that.
Yeah,
Tyler Hero could have done it. He's an all-star.
Right.
Yeah. So like my thought process was, okay, so Zach Edey is a player who dominated the NCAA last year. He led his team to the championship. If you take Edey off that team, I think that they're probably I don't even know. I think they were 1 seed last year. They probably dropped down to like an 8 or 9 seed. So that was my thought process. And now Zach Edey is a rotational player on a very good team.
Yeah, Edey's not the 16 seed. No, he's not.
He's not. So that's the biggest issue there. So so that was my thought process first. But then I watched this Florida game. I'm like, there is no way in hell that's happening.
Made it.
Yeah. Look at I was going to say something. Yeah, I was going to say something else. But yeah.
Who's that? Who's that in the bottom corner?
He's freshly shaven with just a stash going.
What is that?
This is breaking it out. I put in the comments. I was like, I wonder how long it'll take for somebody to mention it.
Dude, you look like a member of Boston PD that nobody likes. A cross between
I'll break out the accent for it.
Paul Blart Mall Cop. What I guess? What are we talking about?
What we're talking about? Yeah. So we are talking about the question that I raised the other day on my TikTok and on my show. So so it's a two-part question. One, who is the worst player in the NBA that could lead a 16 seed to a national championship? And two, out of those guys, who is the worst player that could do it?
The worst player in the NBA that could, I want to make sure I get the question right. The worst player in the NBA that could carry any NCAA team?
A 16
seed. Yeah.
A 16 seed.
16
The worst.
seed.
We had answers like my theory was he has to be an all-star caliber, all-NBA.
Well, I was going to say, it's how they're playing today, not obviously how they were in
how they're playing today, yeah.
A 16 seed to how far?
To
win.
championship.
Yeah, to
Win it all.
Yeah.
I mean, without naming names, it's probably a shorter list rather than a longer list. Are you thinking? That's kind of where we're battling.
No, I'd have to agree that I don't believe in all-stars, so get that nonsense out of the way. I would say it would be one of the not top, but he would have to be an all-NBA player.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So especially now, because technically all NBA are just the top 15 players now, right? Like it's not by anymore. So now all NBA would be top 15. So I would say someone on that list.
Mm-hmm.
There's your 15 names. So pick one of those 15, and I would say the majority, if not all of them, probably could. Like I would think any of the top 5, like your Jokic's, your Doncic's, your Tatum's,
SGA.
right? Like SGA. I think all of those guys, the way they play now, sure, it would be the latter guys that I'd be like, well, like who's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Those guys.
That third team could look a little shaky.
Yeah.
I think LeBron and KD could. That's an interesting one.
I think the difficult part is in college, and I think a lot of people who either don't watch college basketball or haven't played college basketball understand. Very, very rarely is there allowed to be a superstar that carries a team. It happens, but normally you give up that individual ISO kind of thing, and it's more about team first. It's about ball movement. So who could fit into that type of system? And then what 16 seed has pieces around them, who can make shots, who can rebound, who can defend, like that type of thing. Like that's the part we don't realize. Like it's not like here where a guy could go and dominate a game and be 60% of the team, and just carry them to deep, not always to a championship, but deep. That's the part where would a coach allow SGA to have the ball in his hands that much?
Right, he wouldn't average. I mean, he probably averaged like 24 maybe in college.
Would they even allow? Like, would they even allow? Would they allow Jokic to facilitate the offense and have a 7-footer up at the top of the key, even though he had the skill set? It would go against everything they probably believe in. Like those are the tough part. Those are the
It honestly depends on what kind of coach you have running the system. It depends on the system. Yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, like they said about Jordan, right? The only guy that could stop him was Dean Smith.
Yeah.
Systems matter more in college too, for sure.
Absolutely.
Very, very coach would change.
A good system will beat a great player almost every time in college.
Especially.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So
question.
It was something that I thought the number was much higher because because a guy entertained the idea of Rudy Gobert because he's such a size mismatch and also would be rim protecting, which is what players would need to rely on more because they don't rely on the 3-ball more. But however, then I was, as I said earlier, I saw that Florida was up on Norfolk State 45-18. I'm like, there's no way Rudy Gobert is stopping this from happening. So it's a much shorter list than I initially thought. So Fluent, do you have anything else on March Madness that you wanted to add or give anything your piece on before we move on to the next segment?
Did you start with March Madness?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! So I'm coming right at the right time.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So
we're about to see a Duke Natty. That's how we're about to see a Duke Natty.
I'm pretty honest with everybody. Like I spend so much time. Obviously, I'm going to say during the NFL season. I spend so much time watching NFL and NBA, but when NFL's off, I spend so much time watching NBA that I don't watch much college basketball. Like I watch some,
Same.
but I know that's not my priority. Like if there's a college game on and an NBA game, I'm watching an NBA game, and I watch zero high school. So when people say, who's the high school guy that you think is going to come in and make an impact, I'm like, I don't even know. Like I don't even
No
know.
one really watches high school. They just take the ESPN clips.
Well,
I don't think
maybe.
a lot of people. Yeah, they just take the ESPN clips. They see some
I agree with
talking
that.
points and they go ahead with that.
I remember when Bronny was coming, and they were like, "Is he going to be like? What kind of impact?" People are asking me, "What kind of impact is he going to have in USC?" And I went, "Listen, I don't watch high school at all, but I'm looking at a kid who's averaging like 0.6 points, 0.3 assists and 0.2 rebounds at Sierra Canyon." They're like, "But there's a bunch of NBA talented players in Sierra Canyon." I'm like, right. So if he can't get minutes because there's better players, I don't think it's gonna change at USC. And so I go, just based on the numbers, I don't think he's gonna be a very good college player. And then lo and behold, he wasn't a very good college player. And it was like, well, and they always make these excuses. I'm like, well, I don't watch, so I can only go, like, people who don't watch can only go by numbers, because you can't. Like I said, I don't know. Is he athletic? Can he play defense? I didn't know that stuff. And I admitted it. I don't know. Turns out I was still right. He's a fraud, but whatever.
Very smooth. Very smooth segue. Yeah. I guess that's what you want to talk about next. So yeah.
LeBron.
Okay.
Yeah. I got two LeBron James Jr. and LeBron James. Two fraudulent takes. One, I didn't hear a peep from everybody. They give him time is what I heard from all the LeBron James fans about his son, LeBron James Jr. I'm not his friend. I will not call him Bronny. And it was like, give him time. Then he has one game against some bench players where he scores 17 points and shoots 7 of 10, a guy who's been shooting 20% in the NBA. And they all go, see, I told you. And then the next night he goes 0 for again, and they're all quiet again. So let me reiterate. He is not NBA ready. He is a good G Leaguer. He's not a great G Leaguer. So when you tell me he's averaging 20.6 a night, yeah, that's not top 20 in the G League for points per game. So get that nonsense out of here. He is not ready for the NBA. Give him time to develop. He does have potential. Of course, it's in his blood. It's in his genes. But he's not an NBA caliber player today. Yes, did he have one good game? Sure. But some guy challenged me, and I showed him that he scored all of his points against Ryan Rollins, who open shots where, okay, Giannis was the closest one to him, 10 feet away, and Kyle Kuzma was running back on defense and didn't even get back to play defense on him. Those were his 17 points. Oh, and one free throw. That's not a knock or hate. That's realistic. I watched a game of basketball, and I don't care if his name was Jalen Carter, LeBron James Jr., Ori, Chris, Bob, Jim. Doesn't matter the name on his jersey. That's what I saw from a young kid who's scoring in the G League and scored against a G League / second tier defensive player in the NBA one night. Give him time. He will be okay. He's just not. He needs a year or two. That's all.
As a LeBron guy, I don't even talk about Bronny. Like, I just don't care for it. Like I said, I think he needs development. I don't talk about guys drafted in the 50th, usually in the second round. That's just not something I ever do. It's not. I don't know why people still talk about it.
I don't talk about. I only respond. I don't talk. I don't purposely come out. Yeah.
I think ESPN just brings them up for clicks and views, and then they complain about.
Yes,
it's weird because they'll bring them up for the clicks and views, and then they'll say, "Why are people talking about it?" But they're the ones bringing it up for clicks and views.
Of course. Well, let me say this.
It was.
Go ahead, Ori. Go ahead, Ori, and then I want to say something.
No. I'm just gonna say that it's tremendously difficult when I feel that all this pressure is going to eventually potentially warp what LeBron James Jr. could become. Because they put a ceiling on him, and LeBron got to put the ceiling on him way early, and so he kind of had this hype to live up to, and we never really got to see him just kind of develop as a guy, and I don't know if he's ever going to get that opportunity to just develop like he should. because of his name, and that sadly could be a tragedy for his career.
He's getting the minutes to develop.
I was gonna say, like, if you, I'm not gonna bring up another player. I'm only gonna say this: shame on you. I'll look into the camera. Shame on you, Stephen A. Smith. Shame on you, because what you said was correct. He was getting minutes because of who his dad was, with the exception of the first game. I like the idea of the first game. I said it. I said they should have started him. I don't know if you guys were watching preseason on Fluent and Chill. I said you should start him game one of the Lakers because it doesn't mean anything. It's the first 5. Let him play the first 5 minutes with his dad. It's like a ceremonial thing, like Ken Griffey and his dad. Like it was a really cool moment. And then put him in the G League, let him develop, and then next year, cool. We could, like, if he averages 20 some odd points per game, like he is, and then next year in year 2, you bring him out and you're like, hey, here, he's earned his spot, or you give him minutes late in the season, let's say, or whatever, when the game when 5 guys aren't starting, cool, no problem. What Stephen A. Smith said was accurate. Like, you're pressuring JJ to put him in when he's not, like, first quarter against Boston, or no, was it against Boston? No, Milwaukee, Minnesota. Yeah. Whatever game it was that they put him in the first quarter and he looked like lost. Yeah, he's not ready. And that's okay. It's okay not to be ready at 19 years old or 20, however old he is. And just so for Stephen A. Smith after one game to be like, maybe I was wrong. Bull crap, dude. Now you're kissing you know what because dad confronted you. That's sad. That's sad. And then going and talking tough when he's not in front of him. I lost so much respect for Stephen A. Smith this week.
Certainly understandable.
Has there ever been an athlete
two-faced a little bit, hypocritical, all those things. They just kind of turn you off.
Stick to your guns. Look, if he proves it over a period of time, and again, let's be very clear, because people will say you're going to eat crow. I'm not saying he's not going to be good. I'm just saying he's not ready today, which I think is a fair assessment. But I'm not going to go back after one game and be like, oh my God, I was so wrong. He's going to average 20 a game in the NBA. No, because what did he do the next night? Over. Right. And in the game, he scored 17 points. FYI, 4 turnovers, minus 36 plus minus. Like, it wasn't like in a 30-point blowout. It wasn't like he did something. He tied another rookie, Dalton Connect, for the 5th highest scorer in that game. Like, that's not impressive. Go ahead.
Say quick shout out to Archie Manning. Because I just realized, like, usually a lot of great athletes, their sons don't end up being as good or end up being very, very bad a lot of time or very mediocre. He somehow produced 2 starting quarterbacks who one of the all-time greats. Some people say, top 3, top 5 all time for sure. Some people say the GOAT. Eli, I don't think should be in the Hall of Fame, but probably on them. So I think that's really impressive. I can't think of another athlete who was great at their sport who produced kids who are even like just good. I've never seen a great athlete
even just good.
I'm trying to think of a great athlete who
Barry had 3 sons play in the NBA who were all good.
Were they average? Were they good?
They were good.
I'll give it. Okay, I'll say that. That's a good one. And obviously Ken Griffey Sr., his son just ended up being one of the top 10 great players of all time.
You're saying multiple kids, which other than the Barrys, there's probably other than the Barrys, you might be right.
Yeah, you don't see it. You don't see it often.
So I give the Bears, although they weren't like all NBA, like
the Mannings. The Mannings are, I think, just one level.
I think the Barrys were all like Eli's. There was no Peyton.
I got it.
That's fair.
Were they even Eli though? Like Eli won a couple of Super Bowl. He got a Super Bowl MVP. Like Eli still, I'm not even an Eli guy. Like I think he's overrated.
Eli went on 2 runs thanks to a great defense. Get it.
I hear you.
They weren't even a top 5 defense. They weren't even a top 10 defense. Stop that. Neither of those teams were top 10 defenses.
Come on, straight hair was leading that defense.
That defense played very well.
They did. They did. Yeah.
Him beating Brady twice is still pretty crazy.
Yeah, him beating Brady twice is like if he won
and Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre.
If he won 2 against anybody else, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. The fact that it was I'm saying because it was Brady and the Pats,
it'd be a Terry Bradshaw ring. It would be a little different.
Like he's only giving him respect because he beat his guy, so he's got to elevate him so that his guy doesn't feel too bad.
Eli's my guy. I'm not a Tom Brady guy.
Oh, in Boston?
Yeah,
I've explained this before. So I live in New Jersey. I'm a New York Giants and a New York Mets fan. I'm a Celtics fan. My dad grew up a Celtics fan. Yeah.
Maybe has
no,
a great God in Boston.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So then LeBron 2.0. So that's enough on Bronny because. So what's the deal with like I didn't know anything about the trade, and meanwhile, you're like asking for Markieff Morris to be a part of the trade. So clearly, you knew about the trade. What's up with that, Jalen, as the resident LeBron guy?
I mean, I missed this news. Did he say that? Actually,
You missed this
yeah,
news?
I missed this news.
Let me quote it for you then.
Yeah, quote it for me.
So Markieff Morris himself said, "The part about it I don't think a lot of people see is that Keith and Luka have a really good relationship, like a really good relationship," he said. Former NBA player Marcus Morris appeared on Kevin O'Connor's podcast earlier in the week and said that LeBron James and the Lakers pushed to have Markieff Morris included in the trade that brought them Luka Doncic.
I mean, I guess I'll say this. I'm guessing Markieff was a throw-in. Could have been like the last 5 minutes. Hey, I want Markieff. Like he's not a guy that's going to stop or make the trade happen.
Before the trade was done, LeBron asked for Morris.
It could have been.
After the trade was done, LeBron said he didn't know anything about it until after it was done. That's a lie.
That's a little bit of a 10-minute gap there, maybe.
I don't care if it's one. I don't care if it's one.
This is a news. We're well aware now. Like whether you love LeBron, whether you hate LeBron, we all know that he's. We all know that LeBron is a compulsive liar because he's based on all the whether you love him or like him. We know from I knew that Kobe was going to score 80 that night. We know that we know him from reading the first page of every damn book that he picks up. We know
reading books in the one page. I love it.
What was the rap group that he said? Yeah, I liked them 3 years ago before they even like ever dropped one, like before they even recorded one single.
Was it? I don't even know. Was it the Migos?
I think it was Migos. I think you're right.
Maybe it was, yeah.
It might have been. And then like even like Scotty Barnes. I was watching Scotty Barnes in the 7th grade. I knew he was going to be great. Come on, bro. Just say nothing. Cool.
Shout out to he's practicing storytelling for his second act storytelling. After retirement.
Sad.
Never change, LeBron.
Never change. Yeah, exactly.
No, change. Be better.
maybe that one part of it. Maybe that one part.
Now, I'm curious. When you make a deal for a Morris twin, you get both of them, right?
Right, one's sick, the other one's.
Is that how it works?
Of course, yeah.
All
right. So, next part of the show, did we want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, or did we want to give our award picks? I think we talked about the Cavs, then give our award picks towards the end. How do we do that?
I like that.
Cool. All right. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are currently number one in the East, and they've been like that for a little bit. So they are just coming off a 4-game losing streak, but today they beat the they won't say. I'm blanking on who they beat. They beat the
Jazz.
Utah Jazz. Yeah, they beat them by 29. So, it's like it's a tough call to see what the Cavs. I think we can all agree. Like if your team is winning late 60s, your team's likely going to win in the late 60s amount of games. That your ceiling is championship. I think we can all agree on that. But I think the question is what their floor is. And losing 4 straight is something that a lot of champions don't do during the year. 4 straight is happens, especially this time of the year. It does cause for concern. So, Jalen, do you have any thoughts on the Cavs for this year?
I've said from the start. To me, they're closer to those what the 60-win Atlanta Hawks team that year had the best record in the league. They were never going to win a championship. I don't think this Cavs team's ever winning a championship. I think Donovan Mitchell is good. I don't think he's great. I think people overhype Evan Mobley's ability offensively and defensively. He has these big games, but to me, he's not inconsistent. Garland, again, I think is a good player, not a guy I'm going to trust all the time. There's a team to me that's had a good regular season, but I don't think that's necessarily going to translate in the postseason. I think they could be. I think Boston beats them in 5, if not a sweep. I just think they're a much more well-rounded team, and they match up amazingly. I think Orlando can definitely beat them. I would pick Orlando versus the Cavs. I've never been high on the Cavs this season. I've never been high on Evan Mobley. And again, Mitchell, great kind of scorer. I'm trying to think of a player comp before of a guy who's a good scorer, but just not somebody who I'm necessarily going to trust in the playoffs all the time.
DeRozan.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, you know what? DeRozan, I think, would be a good comp for sure. DeRozan, I think, would be a comp. But Yeah, DeRozan's legacy might be a whole lot different.
Wait, I missed it. You said DeRozan and Mitchell, or is this Mitchell? You said there was like DeMar DeRozan, or is this some? Is this some?
Yeah, I mean, no, DeRozan
oh
with
my
the
God,
playoff thing.
Yeah.
You're saying the guy that could score who didn't do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I think DeRozan.
Okay, I disagree with that, but like, I want to hear what you guys have to say before I address that.
You can go. I have a.
Yeah,
I think we're getting a little hasty on the Cavs and wanting to write them off because it's not an excuse. But okay, they lose a close one to the Magic at home, and then listen, some teams, the East to West, West to East, like that's tough. So they go on a West Coast trip. They play the Clippers, the Kings, and the Suns, and they lose, and that's the tail end of their 4-game losing streak. So a tough one against Orlando. Go on the road and lose 3 on the West Coast. Do championship contending teams often lose 4 in a row? I bet you I could, if I looked, I could probably find you 20 that have. So I don't think it's that big of a deal when you also put it into perspective of it was a West Coast trip and they didn't play well. And there is a thing with teams that haven't won before, right? Not kind of understanding what it takes. When you're the number 1 seed in the NBA, the bullseye goes from like non-existent to squarely there on your back, and you are going to get the best performances from every team night in, night out. So I think it's more of they went on the West Coast trip, bullseyes on their back, they weren't ready for it. Now, how do they respond from this? Beating a bad team in the Jazz is a good start. Very good start by blowing them out too. Like it wasn't a dogfight. Like they blew them out by almost 30 points. That's a good start. Do they keep that rolling is the question. So do they be like, okay, we learned our lesson. We're good. So that's where I'd like to see kind of what's next.
Yeah. I'm someone. Yeah, so I'm someone who's kind of thought that like I'm a Celtics fan. So yeah, so like I'm not I'm not being so like I could be biased here, but like I'm someone who's been much higher on the Cavs this year than like a lot of what the other people have been saying, just saying like, oh, they're a 1 seed regular season merchant team, they're like they're the 2015 Hawks. I just don't see that in this Cavs team, and I think it's not like it'd be one thing if they were just like they were like at the top of the East and just like winning games that they should have, getting lucky in certain games. That's not what the Cavs have been this year, though. They've been dominating all year long. They've had 3 separate 15-game win streaks. They've and I know people will do the thing where they say like oh, they're not that good, and then they just list off all their players, which is I feel like what people do sometimes. They're extremely well coached. I think that Kenny Atkinson is. We'll talk about him. I'll definitely talk about him when we address our award picks. I think that he's one of the best coaches. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league, one of the best development coaches. And maybe the Cavs don't have a superstar. I think the Donovan Mitchell is like probably like top 12. I want to say definitely top 15. I want to say he's like top 12 player in the league. But yeah, not a superstar, obviously. But at the end of the day, they play extremely well together. Evan Mobley's on the rise. They have a great defense. It's not as good as like it was what it should be, I think, with Mobley and Allen. But they've been playing flawless basketball together. And is it maybe a concern that they haven't played together and that they're likely gonna have to go up against the reigning champs who have experience? They're probably they're a more talented team, sure, but at the end of the day, the Cavs have been producing all year long, and I think they should 100% be taken seriously as threats.
Ori, before you go, can I ask a question? So because you
Yeah.
just said Donovan Mitchell's like 12th, so that's top 15. Could Donovan Mitchell take a 16th seed to the NCAA championship?
Yes.
That was quick. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think so. Yeah.
That's
Go
close.
ahead, officer.
I don't know
Ori.
if Donovan Mitchell is better than Cooper Flag.
Oh, come on.
I don't think Donovan
Dude.
Mitchell is better than Cooper Flag.
You don't believe
I
that.
I swear to God. I swear.
You don't believe that. You don't believe
Think about the Cleveland.
Cooper
trade.
Flag does a lot of
I
things
think
better than Donovan Mitchell.
Cleveland is interesting because I disagree with Jalen. I don't think they're Atlanta Hawks like, because I think their ceiling is much higher than what the Atlanta Hawks proposed. I think that Atlanta Hawks are kind of built more for the regular season, whereas Cleveland, they have the pieces that if on any given Sunday, if Evan Mobley's your best player and is having a game that he's capable of having, that's a tremendous team, especially with those other guys around. Like that starting 5, talent-wise, on paper you would put up against anybody easily in this league. I think their issue sometimes becomes their depth. That starting five of Mobley, Allen, then you figure Mitchell and Garland, and those four. Darius Garland's on like a 50, 40, 90 guy that is like your fourth option. People tend to forget that, right? So my point being, I think they're the only team that Boston should be scared of. I think that they are being underwritten. I mean, yes, a 4-game losing streak at this time of the year looks awful because this is kind of when all the pieces are supposed to be together and you're not really supposed to fall into those traps. But at the same time, it's better they get it out of the way now, and you don't want to be losing 4 straight in the playoffs. So, hey, this is probably good for them to get that punch in the mouth, and I think they're going to be better for it. And watch out, Boston. Cleveland's for real, in my opinion.
I think the Knicks are even better than Cleveland. Knicks, Orlando, Boston, I think are.
The 12 have Higgins back. No, not better than Cleveland.
No, I think
Jalen Brunson's the best player on the court easily.
No, he's not.
Jalen Brunson's the best player on that court.
no. Donovan Mitchell is better than Jalen Brunson.
That's crazy. Donovan Mitchell's not better than Jalen Brunson. What?
The Knicks are going to lose in the first round. But let me just use, because you had said Atlanta. Knicks are in the first round. You said about Atlanta. The difference between when you look at what Atlanta did that regular season and Cleveland is when you looked at Atlanta's roster, you weren't saying, oh, this is a team that can compete. You didn't. You're like, wow, they're having a great season. They're playing really well-rounded basketball. Oh, 5 All-Stars. But you knew that wasn't a good team. When I look at Cleveland is missing only one thing, okay? If you go back and you look at the history, 75 years of the NBA, and you look at every championship team, with few exceptions, because there's always exceptions, but with very, very few exceptions, you have a superstar, and by superstar, I mean a superstar player who can get you buckets that you need in the last minute, okay? A secondary scorer, a defensive stopper, typically interior, but sometimes it's a perimeter, a rebounder, and sometimes one person takes up 2 of those roles, but typically it's 4, and then role players that can do what those 4 do, just not as good. With the exception of the superstar, right? You do have a primary scorer in Donovan Mitchell. Can he get you a bucket? Like, can you just put the ball in his hands and say, hey, we got 14 seconds left. We're down by 1. We need you to score. That's where I'm not sure he can do consistently because he's not a superstar, but he's close. But they've got the primary scorer in Mitchell. They've got a secondary scorer in Garland, who you said his percentages, but also who's averaging about 20 a game. They've got a defensive player in Evan Mobley. And then they've got rebounding. And then they've got, I just want to make sure I don't forget anybody, right? Then they have Jared Allen. They have, who's the guy they picked up? Hunter, right? Is Karis LeVert still there?
No, he was traded in the Hunter trade.
He was in the Hunter trade. But they have that. So they have a primary scorer, they have a secondary scorer, they have a primary rebounder, they have a secondary rebounder, they have a primary defender, they have a secondary defender. So if I look at 75 years and say, well, 60 of those 75 years, 70 of those 75 years, that's been the makeup of a championship team, well, then they have the potential to, in my eyes, go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, if all healthy, could they beat Boston? It would have to take a whole lot of bounces to go their way because, as I said last year when Boston won, Boston's repeating because they have the best roster with the best top 2 in the East. There's no reason they shouldn't go back to the finals unless they do something dumb, right? They're too good at the table. They're which is not off the table. They're too good of a team though not to go. So but when I look at the Knicks or I look at Orlando, like there's issues on those teams that I think Cleveland could overcome. Now, does that automatically mean they're going to beat them? No. Well, that's why we play the damn games. But they should, right? Like if everything was based on what should happen, they should be in the Eastern Conference Finals, losing a good matchup in 6 to Boston.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It'll
be interesting.
I think the Hawks team is very similar to this. They just don't have a Mitchell. Like Paul Millsap, Al Horford, Mobley, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Jeff Teague. They got a Corver. There's missing a Mitchell.
But that's
Who's
a
their
big
forward?
miss.
That's a big thing. Yeah, it's a big thing. It is a big thing.
Yeah.
Taking a team and saying they're only missing a top 12 or 15 player, that's a big.
I hear you. I hear you on that.
Can you give me a team? Can you give me a team that you take their top 15 player off and they're still good?
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's true. That's true.
All right. Cool. So now we can get into the. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about the. What was that?
I said, yeah, let's do some awards.
Oh, cool. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so, yeah. I was thinking we can go bottom up. Yeah, we can start from the top. Yeah. Let's start with the MVP. So, yeah, we talked about the MVP a few weeks ago. Lots has happened since then. Not sure if anyone's minds have changed. Mine personally has not. But yeah, we all agree that the MVP race is a two-man race between Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Is there anybody here that has Shai and he's or am I gonna have to go 1-on-3 against you?
I would say knowing how voters vote, like, because I have two different answers. I'd vote for Jokic because if Jokic had 0 MVPs, I'd vote for Jokic. I said that last time we talked about this. Mm-hmm. Knowing how voters vote, like if you were asking me as a betting man, who would you pick to win? Like if you had to pick the winner, well, I know that part of it is statistics, record, narrative, which means SGA wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Fluent there in the sense of SGA with the whole winning thing, him putting up great numbers, leading this team clearly, best player on the best team in the league with the best record. It makes sense for him to get it. I would still vote for Jokic too, personally. Again, I just think his numbers are probably historic. What he's done, kind of carrying this team when they've had guys out, still doing his thing. But I'm not like totally upset if SGA won. I think Jokic deserves it. But if
you're not going to
say
like he was robbed. It wouldn't be like 62. Right? When Wilt averages 50 and 25 and 48.5 minutes a game and doesn't win the MVP. Like, it wouldn't be like that where, we're not going to look back on this in 20 years and be like, wow, Jokic was really robbed. You're going to have people say Jokic probably should have won, but I get he already had 3. SGA, we need to bring the MVP back to Canada. Okay, I get it.
That's and the thing is you kind of phrased it exactly, the way that it should be phrased is sadly, if you were a betting man, 100%, yeah, you would put it on SGA because he fits exactly what you want your MVP to fit narrative-wise right now, especially with the team record being the way that it is. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, Jokic is arguably one of the greatest offensive players of all time, having one of the greatest offensive seasons of all time, and just doing things we've never seen before. So it's just hard. It's hard with that record difference. Like if we just got rid of the records and said like maybe it was a 1 seed versus a 3 seed and the MVP race was the way it was, I don't know if that would change the narrative at all. But it's 14, just I feel bad. I feel bad. Yeah, well that's it.
Yeah, and it's too bad. But if there's a consolation prize, sorry, I have to adjust my chair. If there's a consolation prize for Jokic, it's that he might not, winning 3 MVPs might have kept him out of winning his 4th, but he's about to enter into the toughest, most prestigious conversation that there is in basketball. And that's who's the greatest center of all time.
Yeah.
He's putting himself into that conversation, which there's no other position that is more difficult to get into. Like if you look at most people's top 10, top 15, it's littered with centers because, well, that's been the main focus of basketball for 70 out of the 75 years, is that position. He's in that. He's going to be in that conversation with Wilt and Russell and Shaq and Hakeem. And like, that's dude,
it's the most hated position for sure.
Yeah, I would say
that's my point
for that all day.
He's going to be in those conversations, and he's having his greatest season yet.
I know. Yeah. And he's doing it on one end of the floor. Like, let's be honest, no one's applauding his defense. And when you look at the other guys, all of them were defenders with the exception of Shaq.
That's the easy argument against
So,
Jokic
yeah.
defensively. It's just he's just such a
So
step back.
yes. So
Shaq at his best, I want to say, was still at his peak. He was a good defender.
he was okay. Yeah, he was good.
He
Yeah.
was a good defender.
Yeah. So all three of you guys would vote for Jokic, but would predict Shea. So yeah. I would still vote for Shea actually. And for a couple of reasons. So I, for one, do like the idea of giving the MVP to a team that's like towards the top, especially if they're so far ahead of everyone else in the West. And the only team that's been like on their level as far as it goes for wins is the Cavs, and the Cavs don't have, as we mentioned, a superstar. Shea has been without debatably his second best player. I think on a per game basis, I think that Chet is a better player than J-Dub. I also know I didn't check the numbers just now, but the last time I checked was like about a week ago. The Thunder are out of I think they're at like a plus 24 with Shea on the floor and J-Dub off the floor. So that being factored in. So and like the argument whenever I use on-off numbers, the argument that people give is the fact that Jokic, his on-off, he has like a bigger on-off difference. So like the fact that the Nuggets are at like I think it's like a plus 12 with Jokic on the floor and a negative 8 with him off the floor. But the Thunder, it's like not that big of a difference. I think they're at like a plus.
With him off the floor, sir, they become the 29th offense in the league.
Something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. So, and
yeah.
That tells me poor roster construction and bad coaching. But anyway,
exactly. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. 100%. So,
and a lot of carrying though too.
Yeah. So like, yeah, Shea doesn't do as much carrying as Jokic, but like, I also think that that he does have to carry a certain load because he doesn't have to do as much work on defense, but he still has to carry an offensive load because like he has shooters, but he doesn't have like many offensive creators. So that's the reason that I would give Shea the edge. Is mainly just because he's doing some carrying on an all-time great team, and also the fact that I guess if we're looking at the entire game, because we keep on hearing that Jokic's having the best offensive season of his career. I think it's out of like the 5 years that he has like an MVP season. I think this is also the worst defensive year of his career because teams are picking on him on defense. They don't do that to Shea. So so that's like I have zero problem if you want to go with Jokic because he does have the better numbers, but I think like big picture wise is where I would vote for Shea.
Well, okay, we'd have to double check it real quick, but there was a stat that I saw somebody produced. It was yesterday, I believe, and I think it's with SGA on the floor. OKC plays at about a 72 win pace. I don't know if you saw this stat. Maybe you guys saw this. So you can make sure it's right. They say they play at about a 72 win pace with him on the floor. With him off the floor, they play at roughly about a 55 win pace. They say with Jokic, it's about 64 wins with him on the floor, and about 38 with him off.
Right. The problem I have with stats like that, it's the LeBron effect. Is that I'm the GM of a team, and I have arguably the best player in the NBA. Like I don't think anyone will argue like that. I'm not saying he is, but you can make the argument he's the best player in the NBA. And if you want to win, what do? If you're smart, you construct it and you maximize the team around the best player in the NBA so that he can win because you're not expecting to win with him off the court, right? If he's gone, you're kind of like, okay, well, even if they're a 55 win team, well, now they're just getting a horrible draft pick and not winning anything. So we've screwed ourselves. So because it's the same thing with, like I said, it's the LeBron effect. If you take LeBron off a team, everyone's like, well, the team sucks. Well, yeah, because it was literally built for him to be maximized to get the most out of him. And Denver has, to their credit, has done a job of we're building a team that's going to maximize Jokic. So when he goes away, yeah, I expect them to be bad because that's how I built the team. Whereas OKC was built in a different way. They were built on, hey, if you remember, they got him in a trade with like a 55,000 draft picks. And it's like, hey, we're going to be in this situation where let's build this really good, deep team. Like when you look at them having, I know he gets hurt a lot, but him and Chet and then Dort, your defender. And, they've got all these and J-Dub, they've got these pieces around because of the way that the team was constructed. Yeah, I expect them to be better. So he's kind of a victim of his own circumstance. Right. And again, you can make both cases but it's just like each team is built different. Certain teams are going to be built for kind of that whoever comes off. Like there was a few years ago when Ja came off the court for Memphis. When Memphis was good and Ja before he had all his issues, when Tyus Jones was on, their offense was actually more efficient because he slowed down the game and he wasn't as helter-skelter, and so they didn't turn the ball over as much. And I'm like, yeah, but are you going to argue that Tyus Jones is a better guard than Ja Morant? No, that's ridiculous. So I think he falls into that tough thing because your numbers you're saying are true, but let's go deeper and say, well, yeah, it also has to do with the fact that they want to maximize him. They want to be great when he's on, and they don't care what happens when he's off, because if he's gone, they're not winning anything anyways.
So it almost is kind of the difference between like a heliocentric offense and like a guy that's a little more scalable, kind of.
Look, again, I don't mean to make it about LeBron, but he's easy because people watch him so much. LeBron James, historically, there's exceptions again, but historically doesn't do well, right, if he's not the centerpiece of the team. He just, like when they tried it in 2011 and said, oh, it's going to be Wade's team. It didn't work. The next year he goes, okay, it's my team. Worked out pretty good. Right? So it's just like, that's when he's at his best. That's, again, not a knock on him. So if I'm a GM, I'm doing everything I can to make him be his best. And it's the same thing with Jokic. Like, they could have gotten different players, better players, right? But it makes more sense for them and what they're trying to do in the way he plays. He wants the ball in his hand. He wants to facilitate. Cool. We win that way. We won a championship that way. Don't mess with it. It's not broken.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. So it's gonna be one of those two guys. It'll be interesting to see which one takes it away.
Won't be unanimous, I'll tell you that much.
It will not be unanimous. Both of them, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, both of them will be climbing up high on the MVP shares list, though. So that'll be, if you want to start paying attention to that. So yeah. So up next, we got the Defensive Player of the Year award. I'm struggling. I want to hear what you guys have to say, just because, I don't know if you guys have the same opinion, but it is going to come down to two guys. So, Ori, what are your takeaways on who you think, who's your front runner as of now?
I'm just disappointed that Wemby's gone. It would have made this like tremendously easier.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's a part of me that wants it to be like someone like Evan Mobley. To be honest, I know a lot of people have kind of been in his camp. There's a part of me that feels like, I'm struggling with Defensive Player of the Year. It was the only award that I genuinely found myself having trouble with my pick. I picked Mobley at the end of the day, but I don't feel comfortable with it. I feel like I could be coerced pretty easily and compelled by any of you to change that pick. And that's not the same way I feel about the rest of my picks. So I kind of want to hear a little more about you guys and if you had anything more solid.
I've been on the Dyson Daniels train for a couple, probably about, I'd say maybe two and a half months ago. And Dyson Daniels, what he's been doing. Again, a team that's very poor defensively. He's taking the load of guarding the other team's best player every night, helping Trae Young anytime he gets beat, he's sliding. So he's really playing these angles. So it's actually interesting to watch if you give him a look. And I mean, even the steal numbers, even though I hate steal numbers as a stat, the numbers his are just so.
Why do you hate steals?
Because sometimes you could be like a poor defender and get some steals because you're jumping lanes and then other guys going past you. Like you could be like Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was getting some good steal numbers, but he was a poorest defender. So to me, the steals category doesn't always paint a picture.
Change of possession.
I mean, sure, but sometimes again,
you're
going for the steal.
Defensive Player of the Year, Big East.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Sometimes when you get the steal, you're slacking on actually guarding your guy. It's just, to me, it's not the most effective all the time. But Dyson Daniels to me is the guy. Shout out Lou Dort too. The torture chamber is very real. You look at star players going up against him. I think guards just don't get enough love in the DPOI category.
You're one player, man. Don't.
I got you. Dyson Daniels to me, again, if you look at the counting metrics, the eye test, what he's done for that Atlanta team defensively, who has poor defenders all around, I think Dyson Daniels should win it.
I have no shame in saying, as a rookie, Dyson Daniels didn't even. You could have said, "Hey, what do you think of Dyson Daniels?" And I would have said, "Who?" And Fluent Jr. said, "Watch out for him," In a couple of years, he's going to be on the all defensive team. And by year 5, he's going to be all NBA. And I said, you're nuts, little kid. And I told Jay this because you know how my son always jumps in on Fluent and Chill. And Jay's like, no, he was all about Herb Jones, right? Because back then they were on the same team. And he was all about Herb Jones. And he's telling us, no, trust me. Got to watch out with this Dyson Danielson. Got to watch out with this Dyson Danielson. And then I'm like, no. And then I'm like, oh, hold on. And then we start watching him a little bit because we're like, maybe the kid's onto something. And then, a year goes by and you're like, oh, hold on a minute. And now this year I would be very surprised if Dyson Daniels isn't on the All-NBA team. And I'm like, maybe I should start putting in my bets on him being All-NBA in a couple more years because he's so far not bad for a kid. But to Jalen's point, perimeter defenders do not get enough love, and that is a damn shame because traditionally we're looking at like blocks and the interior defense and the center who basically before 2000 got to sit in the key for as long as he wanted and just block shots and be the last line of defense. Now they got to slide out every 3 seconds. Oh, and by the way, the guy on the perimeter is not allowed to touch the guy that he's guarding. Oh, and by the way, the guys are shooting logo threes consistently, so he can't just guard 23 feet 9 inches. He's got to guard like 35 feet out. The perimeter defender has the hardest job in the NBA right now. So when you find someone who can do it at an elite level, when you find someone who you can say, hey, that's their best scorer, you go guard him. It reminds me of an NFL like Revis Island or Deion Sanders. Okay, he's got that side of the field. We'll take care of the rest. So when you have a guy, this is why I said don't steal my thunder, like Lou Dort, that you can say, go guard him, and we're good with the other, we'll take care of the other guys. That's why he's your defensive player of the year, because you can do that with him. And there's so many good offensive players, so many great shooters in the NBA, and so many rules that make it next to impossible to guard on the perimeter for him to be doing what he's doing. That's my guy. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care who they vote for. That's my vote.
I like that Revis Island comp. That's actually a great comp for Lou Dort. Yeah,
that was a good one.
I worked on that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I do think that's in order to win defensive player, like similar to MVP. I think that in order to win defensive player of the year, you do need to have a top 10 defense, which the Hawks do not have. The Grizzlies do not have, even though Jaren Jackson. I don't know if I didn't check the odds, but like I do think that Jaren Jackson is towards the top of the best there. But the Cavs, Evan Mobley, the Cavs are only 8th, so it's not like they're like this juggernaut defense. With that, so but like you're really starting to look, because you're really looking at it where like it's more team oriented more than ever, because the Thunder have like 6 elite defenders, like someone. Yeah, it was Mars that said the other day. He's like you can argue that Shea is like the 7th best defender on the Thunder if you really look into it. The Magic have a handful of great defenders. Like Suggs is out for the year, but like Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, WCJ is a pretty good defender. The Clippers, Chris Dunn, Zoo is a great defender. The Rockets, they don't have an elite defender. The Celtics have a couple of elite defenders. The Wolves, Gobert, McDaniels. So just it's mostly just team oriented now. I get guns in my head. I would probably say Mobley, but similar to Ori, I don't feel great about it because there's so many good options out there.
If they're the 8th ranked defense, he's not winning. Because go back and look at every defensive player of the year award. There's 3 things that are always consistent. They have to be good or great with defensive stats. So steals, blocks, whatever, which I know you don't like, but that's a fact. They have to be really good or great with the advanced defensive stats. So defensive win share, box plus minus, blah, blah, that stuff. And their team has to be ranked I believe it's top 4 for them to win, right?
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So Thunder, Magic, Clippers, Rockets. Who's winning defensive player of the year out of those teams? It might be him, but I think it's
go back and look at every championship, even the ones when people say this person got robbed. When you look at them by those 3 metrics, regular defensive stats, advanced stats, and team defensive rating, that's the person who always wins. So I'm not going to go against historically what has happened every single year. And I just so happen that that's who I want to win too. So it works out great. All the awards are coming to Canada, baby. MVP, DPOY. We got them all, baby.
Yep.
We just got to make noise in the Olympics. We got to start winning.
Elio Lindgren, 6th man of the year. Let's go.
I know we're running a little over on time, but I don't know if you guys wanted to do. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to do Coach of the Year or Rookie of the Year. Like a Rookie of the Year is gonna be the most boring talk ever. But I don't. Unless there's someone else. Yeah, obviously, but yeah. Like yeah.
We all agree it's Castle, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Castle. I mean, but look, you have Alex Sars making a run late. Like he's gotten better. Rashard Say too. I mean, these guys have gotten better. They start off real slow, but they've definitely gotten noticeably better. Maybe
rookies do take.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess we could do. I guess we could do Coach of the Year now. Because, I guess those are probably the four most important ones. Unless you want to factor in 6th man of the year. Shout out Peyton Pritchard. Coach. Yeah. So Coach of the Year is a very interesting dynamic for Winnipeg because it's pretty much it's usually just the team that overachieves the most. So there's a couple of candidates there. Flo, and I haven't asked you first yet. Yeah. Who's at the top of your list?
I think I don't even think there's a debate. I don't even think there's a debate that it's Bickerstaff in Detroit.
Okay.
Like that team was one, game against the Raptors. Jill will always remind me because I called it. He goes, they were on it like they'd lost 20, 29, whatever it was in a row.
28, yeah.
28 in a row. And I said, well, it's a total Raptor thing to do that they'll lose to them. And he goes, there's no way the Raptors lose to the Pistons. I go, put money on it. And what do? The Detroit goes and beats the Raptors. And he goes, they were going to lose 40 in a row. And I said, no, Raptors won't let that happen. So this team was historically bad last season, which, by the way, wasn't a surprise to me because even when they hired Monty Williams, the first thing he said was it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I told everybody, expect them to lose like 60 games. No one listened, but now they're more fluent. And that's very easy to take that losing culture, ask Philadelphia, and not be able to get out of it. And what he did with basically the same roster, okay, they got, they made some tweaks, Beasley and Harris, but those aren't world changers. No one's like, when they got those guys, no one said, oh, Detroit's going to be the team now. So he was able to, with basically 7, I believe, or 8 of the same rotational guys and starters, take that horrible team that was a laughingstock last year and turn them into into a legit team this season that is winning games. And the culture, like I said, I went and I spent the weekend in Detroit, went back-to-back games, and just like the culture, the atmosphere, everything is completely different. And he gets a big, like, even if you look at Cade Cunningham's numbers, they're not that different. But he's become a leader of a good team that's winning games. And the only difference really is coaching. So you have to just give him full credit for it. So I am. And that's my pick. And that's why I don't think it's close.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Seems like the obvious pick right now, the jump from Detroit. I do think the progression of Cade, Jalen Duran, definitely helped that situation too. But I guess you can relate that to coaching too. So definitely, again, he's there. Shout out to JJ Redick. I think he's been a phenomenal coach this year. People were hating on JJ Redick with a start. Only got picked because of LeBron. He doesn't know how to coach. JJ Redick to me, has been the best in-game coach this season. The adjustments he's made in games, I have not seen other coaches do as much as him that have been effective. Shout out JJ Redick. I think he's
So is it gonna be next year or the year after that Jalen's gonna be complaining about JJ Redick's coaching style, and that's why LeBron loses games.
JJ, my guy.
Next year by the trade deadline, he's gonna want to fire JJ. But let me listen. When I'm wrong, let me raise my hand and say I'm wrong. Okay? Because one, he did get hired as a gimmick just because he was on a podcast with LeBron and they were buddies. That is why he got hired.
He's a brilliant basketball mind.
Hold on. That is why he got hired. 2, he didn't know how to coach. He had absolutely zero coaching experience. He's never coached before. So I'm sorry, if you never coached before, you don't know how to coach. Has he come in and done a great job and put up and whether it's him or his team, put in great defensive schemes, especially when moving off of AD and get them to put in effort to play defense, 100%. So I give him all the credit in the world, because I thought it was going to be a complete disaster. And he was able to, for the most part, it was a little iffy there at the beginning, put his massive ego in check, and not piss off too many people, although there was complaints about him, again, in the first half of the season from the players. And he was able to get through that, put his ego in check enough to get them to play hard for him. And that is the sign of a coach. More than X's and O's, more than schemes and is, can you get your players to put in effort? And he's done that. So I give him a ton of credit.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be a little biased too, because JJ Redick's the reason I love Duke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I fell in love with Duke,
Yeah.
JJ Redick. Yeah, that was the time when I really started watching.
He was my of all the best Duke teams. He was my favorite player.
It's such a shame they never won with him. Should have.
Yeah. So how much of the fact that JB Bickerstaff left the Cavs, and now the Cavs they went from a 4 seed to now being debatably the best team in the league. They're playing at an all-time great regular season production level. How much is that going to hurt him? And they give it to Kenny Atkinson instead, because he turned the Cavs from because people make the argument that it's harder to make a good team great rather than a bad team good. So
did Steve Kerr win Coach of the Year the first year with the Warriors?
I have no idea.
I think
probably not. If you're asking the question, yeah, like I have no idea. Maybe he did.
Because if he did, then I'm with you. If he didn't, then
he
just did what Kerr did.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea if he did. But yeah, like I do think the Missoula should have won last year, because the Celtics were an all-time great level. But the
2016 Coach of the Year.
Okay, 2016. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. But I forget, was it did Chris Finch win? Oh no, it was Dano that won last year. So yeah, so like it does tend to go to the team that overachieves the most. So yeah, like I guess you could lean. Yeah, like I guess Fluent. I think you convinced me. Yeah, like I would probably go with Bickerstaff, because which by the way, like Williams did not want to coach that team last year at all. They just paid him money. Yeah, they just paid him a bunch of money, and then he said like, okay, I'm fine, I'm going to do it. But yeah, you can't convince someone to coach. So.
He still got all that money, right?
He still gets paid all of it. Just think about it though. They've won 25 more games and counting.
Yeah,
like that's they lost 68 games last year. Like 68 losses. Like that's, if you tried, that's hard to do.
I mean, what did the Cavs win? Like 15 more games last year? The last year, what did they win? Like, did they win 50 last year? I don't even know. So yeah, it's so maybe like a little.
I think Bickerstaff definitely has the case. I do like to shout out to Kenny Atkinson, and just as a third place, I'd like to also, or fourth place, what have you. I'd like to also give a shout out to Ime Udoka with Houston Rockets. I think he's done a tremendous job over there with Houston, and it can't be overstated enough what he's done with the young pieces on that squad. So I think he should definitely be in the conversation, despite the fact that I think it's Bickerstaff's award to win.
For the record, if Cleveland finishes out and wins their last 2 games, so they finish 58-14, they would have won 10 more games than the previous year. So they were 48-34 last year.
Okay, got it.
Still
I think that Monty Williams, he's really coaching his sons now at like a prep school, high school. He literally took that $78 million, essentially retired, decides to go coach his sons.
I wish someone would offer me $78 million.
I was going to say that's
so
he got all that guaranteed. I mean, one season he got out, and damn, he really kind of. I'm not even mad at it.
I don't know how organizations do that. Where they just like put like I understand why, but like you saw the Bucks do it with what's his name with Griffin, and then they brought in Rivers. And now they're technically paying 3 coaches now. It's just like I understand.
But I think Bud dropped off this year.
It was this year that he dropped off. Okay.
But yes, why they'll burn a clause that's not all guaranteed. You have to coach us.
They were paying Doc, Bud, and
AJ Griffin, whatever is AJ, yeah, or Adrian, whatever it is. Yeah,
they were paying the 3 of them last year all at the same time. And let's be honest, they probably should have fired Doc.
Right.
And paid him. Probably
they couldn't have.
Because
they couldn't have though. Like like I understand, like from a basketball standpoint, they probably should have, but you can't go through 4 coaches in less than 1 season. Like it's ridiculous. But
how coaches get fully guaranteed contracts is it's a little wild to me. I don't know if they're union or
Why?
whatever's going on, but
Why? Players get fully guaranteed contracts. This isn't the NFL.
sure. But I think coaching is a lot more. Coaches are a lot more replaceable than some of the star players or players.
No, actually, that's the biggest lie in sports.
I think NBA coaching too, except for a few. I think a lot of coaches just play ring around the rosy in the NBA, and they just kind of take turns coaching the team until one sticks.
They've
I don't know, man. They keep running through the same coaches.
Recently they do that. It didn't used to be that way. And the teams that keep their coaches and allow them to develop a team and a culture are the teams that are most successful. Like if you look at the teams that have longevity and success, it's because they have the same person around. The teams that flip flop, they might have a peak, but then there's always a valley. So, I think it's way too fast.
Yeah, well, like if you, like I'm not going to go through each year, but like besides like Missoula, Malone, and Steve Kerr, like pretty much all the teams within the past like 7 or 8 years like have been fired, which is outrageous.
Yeah,
I mean the team to me, the team with the coach. Yeah, I mean Pop and
I meant like within like the last 7 or 8 years. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I think Pop and Spo are in a tier of their own in terms of team with cultures and coaching. I think those two are in a tier of their own. And then, like even with Steve Kerr, like I don't know if that culture is Steph Curry and Draymond or Steve Kerr. You know what I mean? So it's like with Spo, to me, it's Spo. You've seen him go through kind of a couple of generations or groups of players with Pop.
It's not Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is the most overrated coach.
That's the thing with Steve Kerr. I want to wait till I put that out there. I want to see how he does when Steph Curry and Draymond's gone. That's when I know how good Steve Kerr is.
Here's the easiest way I can explain this. And shout out to Mark Jackson. The fact that he's never had another head coaching job again is ridiculous. But anyways, he took on a great team with like a great roster, with a great owner, with a great GM who spent so much money that when they had to re-sign them all, the GM was like, "We're going to have to be paying these guys like $1 billion. I'm out." But every time there was controversy, whether it was an injury or this or that, what happened to the Warriors? They lost. He never coached a injured or a challenged roster, and I'm not saying to a championship. I mean, he's never coached them to be good. I get it. You lose Steph Curry and you lose Clay and whatever, but you win 5 games. 5? Any other coach is getting fired. So a player goes down. It's just I don't see him as a very good person. He definitely knows basketball. He learned under the best. Like just think about it. He was coached by Phil Jackson. He was coached by Greg Popovich. He's the GM of the Suns with Mike D'Antoni. And then he goes and inherits this beautiful coaching job with the greatest shooter of all time and another, top 5, top 10 shooter of all time and a great, top 10 defender at the time in the league, top 5 defender?
Top 1 probably, honestly.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Right? And what a great team to fall into. And he openly says, and smart on him, I stole a little bit of the triangle. I mixed it in with Mike D'Antoni's kind of free-flowing, fast-paced offense. And Popovich, people don't give Popovich enough credit. Go back and look at his history of a lot of threes, right? And he goes, and I had the guys to do it. And I said, go. Yeah.
He's had a pretty blessed career all around. Like I said, got to play with the Jordan dynasty, got to play with the Duncan dynasty. Goes to a Phoenix team. They get again Nash in it doing.
Oh, and if I may, wasn't he on Arizona with Lute Olson?
Yeah.
This dude has had the best life. He has had the best life.
Talk about pedigree, huh?
Yeah, like
he would make the Hall of Fame.
If he wasn't successful, I'd be shocked. And again, let's be clear. Overrated doesn't mean bad.
Right.
Because I know people are going to hate on me and say, you think Steve Kerr can't coach? No. I just think I'm hesitant to put him in a category with guys who have been able to win no matter the circumstance, which is hard. And I just, like I said, overrated, meaning top 5? No, but he's a great coach. Like those two things, again, are possible at the same time.
Yep, absolutely.
Am I missing anything else? I don't think I am.
Most improved player.
Oh,
improved. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I always say that because this is Norman Powell's award, and Norman Powell needs a shout out for doing incredible things, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I know that Cade Cunningham could be up for this. I know Tyler Hero could be up for this. I know Trey Murphy could be up for this. But at the end of the day, I feel like doing what you did, like Norman Powell could have been like this guy by all rights should have been a journeyman, and to step up and show that he could replace a lot of the offense that the Clippers lost with Kawhi being out. He's doing what they wanted Paul George to do, and I appreciate it. I appreciate what Norman Powell's done this season.
But he is a journeyman.
Well,
and
yes.
he's a journeyman who, in every place that he's been, has been a really good scorer. When he was in Toronto, when he was in Portland, now for the Clippers, like that's what he's always done. He's always been a good scorer. And the whole mean Powell scowl, I don't know if you guys remember that from back in the Raptors kind of playoff run. I love Norman Powell, and he's probably going to win because typically the award goes to the guy who has the biggest jump in points per game. So it's him. But I'm going to get on my Detroit bandwagon again and be like, even though statistically you didn't see huge jumps, you did see jumps in efficiency and in leadership, and they never look at leadership. But I feel like Cade Cunningham better get, like, I think Powell wins, but I feel like Cade better get some votes just to like appreciate what he has done this season. I think has been nothing short of remarkable. And like, we gotta, like, we always, downside, like to Chris's point earlier when he said, SGA or Luke or Jokic, whoever wins, at least they're getting their MVP share numbers up. Like, I always feel like we look at this person won, and like everybody second, like if you didn't win, you lost. If you're not first, you're last. And it's like, man, we got to give some credit because there's so many good players in the NBA right now, so many great players, so much superstar potential, more than ever in the history of the league. Sound like a young guy right now. And it's like, I want to give these guys their love because, like, I don't want people to forget. Like, if he doesn't win it, which he probably won't, I don't want them to forget what a historical thing he's done from last year to this year, because there's guys that couldn't do it. There's guys that just get into losing and just keep losing. So,
what's our takeaway on giving the most improved player of the year award to a firm #1 pick and someone that we figured was already going to become one? Like, I know people complained about with Ja. I was one of those people, and we also saw it with a couple other players that I can't think of right now. But essentially, all the times it's becoming an award for guys that were already expecting to take a jump when it was.
I think that's fine. The surprise factor, I don't really think, is a factor for most improved. It's about what you did on the court last year versus what you did versus what we thought you would have done versus what you did. So my pick for MVP is actually Dyson Daniels again too.
Oh,
but yeah, I think Dyson Daniels. Did you see the jump he's taking? People don't realize too, especially now. Ever since Jalen Johnson went down too, his offensive game has picked up. Shooting, scoring the ball better. He's filling up the stat sheet, getting the rebounds, and defensively big jump. So Dyson Daniels to me has had the biggest jump as a player from last year.
Are you saying Fluent Jr. is right? He's on the verge of all NBA.
Big Fluent Jr. on the show. I have to get him on the show with that tape, man.
The guest panel member coming up.
No, it's past his bedtime. But I want to go back quickly because I'm going to forget what I said. The only caveat I have, because you said about expectations, I don't care about expectations. You get judged on what you did. And if you were here and then the next year you were here, then I don't care if you're the first overall pick, the 50th pick, I don't care. If you jumped from here to here, you deserve to be most improved. The only caveat I have is I don't think injuries, like a player was injured and they averaged 3 points a game because they didn't play, 70, and then it's like, oh wow, now he's averaging 25 a game for the first overall pick. I can't stand is if there's injury involved and it's like, oh, what a big jump. Well, it doesn't count. He was hurt.
That's why comeback player of the year should be a thing rather than the most improved. Like I know the NFL has come back, but they don't have most improved. Yeah. So
comeback player of the year too is the same thing. It's like okay, but you were injured.
You come up ACL tear, thing like with Adrian Peterson. It's like,
no, I don't like that. I don't like that.
I was very happy when DeMar Hamlin didn't win comeback player of the year, by the way, because I'm like, what do you mean? Like I understand like what he came back from, but he stunk. What do you like? Why would he even work for that?
He came back. Hold on. He came back from death.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was literally
okay.
Literally dead. He came back from dead.
You get one tackle after that, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, he's tough, bro. Like he came back from the dead.
Never said otherwise.
Not enough.
Never.
Not enough.
I know.
Okay. So, yeah. All right. Is this how we're going to finish off? Like about me trashing a dead guy? Is that where we're going to sign off from the show? I guess we can. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. All right.
That's weird.
That's
all right. Yeah. Well. Yeah, Fluent. I do appreciate you giving me the keys for the show today, even though I didn't finish off too great, but that's okay. All right. Well, this has been another episode of the NBA Max podcast. Be sure to subscribe to @SportsFluence Media to catch this show and also catch All American Hoops on Thursday nights. But until then, keep grinding and stay hooping. Have a great night, everyone.
Oh, Canada. Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.